It is your PrisonPlanet.tv memberships that fund so much of what we do here on this operation. And then we're more than happy for the TV show after it's aired live, then be leaked out onto the web to tens of millions of people. That's our goal. Okay, I'm going to be honest with listeners. I'm just going to lay it all out here on the table on this 21st day of February 2013, Thursday edition. This radio broadcast is growing by leaps and bounds, and we definitely more and more have the attention of the American people to a great extent and the people of the world. At least we have the attention of people that are trying to find out what's happening. And that is just an incredible responsibility. And I have a wonderful team of reporters, researchers, crew, you, the listeners, the supporters, our friends in the media worldwide who love liberty as well. But occasionally I'll listen to a rebroadcast of a show or part of it, and sometimes I'm really spot on. Other times it is a bunch of gibbering. Because it is real and it's teleprompter free and there's no producer telling me what to do, I'm in charge. But as I've said to the globalists many times, they're in charge of the world. They're not in charge of themselves. And it's the same thing. I'm in charge, but I'm not really in charge of myself when it comes to this radio broadcast. And I think back to shows I did 10 years ago even. And I've gone back and listened to some of those where I was even more focused and would go through more news and get to more calls. And in ways, the broadcast has gotten more informative, and I've gotten more informed when it comes to how the world works, as we all do. A wise man knows how little he knows. The fool thinks he knows everything. But I don't want to say this broadcast is in a rut, because we've added a lot of new things to it. It's gotten better. We've got the reporters, more and more special news pieces. It's just that at the level this broadcast has already made it, I am going to attempt to really shake the show up. And a lot of that means, do I screen the phone calls as well? Because, you know, sometimes I open the phones up on a specific topic, best calls in the world. But if I just open it up to general stuff, it's guys calling in who are on their day off, who are already into a half bottle of whiskey, which is fine. It's just that I'm not sitting around, you know, at the local VFW shooting the breeze, you know, having a few suds. So there's that issue. There's the issue of the frustration of every day I come in here, and I've scanned over before I got here, and then when I get here, sometimes 200 articles, usually about 100. I've got all these video clips, all these reports, all this incredible information, all these insights to try to transmit to you. But I get so excited and go into a rant mode, and the first hour is generally the best hour for my content, and then we usually have guests on because I know that I tend to degenerate by the second and third hour. And it's on the days where I don't have guests, where I decide to not have guests, that becomes evident. And I'm probably overanalyzing this. It's just that these are extraordinary times we're in. Very extraordinary times. And so I must, absolutely must, get myself to the point of where I'm in control. Because I'll say I'm going to go to your calls, I don't go to them. Or when I do, I'll let a caller go too long. Or I say I'm going to cover something in the next hour, I start covering it right then, and then never fully cover it. And it's just, I'm going to tell you, you've got this commitment from Alex Jones. Because we're getting on more and more stations, because more and more Infowars.com is a household name, because of the responsibility we've got, because nobody's telling me up my game. I'm saying it. I'm saying it. A lot of times I'm a travesty. And people come up and thank me and say how great I am, and it's like punching me in the stomach, because I just want to beat the tyrants, and then I know how horrible I am, and these people are counting on me. It's I don't know how to explain it. One of my good friends had a heart attack a few weeks ago, and he was telling me that, you know, he got mad. He felt like he let his family down. 60-something years old having a heart attack. And somebody that doesn't know what it is to be a man, they don't understand that. A man with children, a man with responsibilities. It's like people are saying, oh, you're so great. And it makes you go, oh, man, I got to do even better. You see what I'm saying? It's like, that's why it's painful when you tell me how great I am, because I know the potential is like 500 times better. We'll be right back with incredibly important news. Stay with us. I don't know how anyone out there could say that they're bored. A great animating contest between the forces of total despotism and a scientific worldwide technocratic tyranny are attempting to eradicate what we know of as the normal operating system of the human species and evolve us, I put that in quotes, devolve us, into their technotronic man-machine interface age, of which only a select few will enter in the future. And I have some articles on the technological front that integrate in and illustrate are illustrative of what I want to cover on that subject, and I'll do that later in the second hour today. I will get to it. We're also going to look at the destabilized Middle East program. Why are the globalists putting radicals in charge everywhere? How does it tie into the larger geopolitical systems? We're also going to look at John Kerry, the Secretary of State, the globalist, the Skull and Bones member, running around pushing climate change and carbon taxes is the most important thing America faces. His first speech as Secretary of State. The national and local media in Wisconsin has gone into conniption fit overdrive over the sheriff, Clarke, in Milwaukee County, and what he said on this show. And before I even saw this article this morning, I intended to come on air and call yet again, but here we are a few months later with an update for a second American revolution, but a peaceful revolution ahead of them starting a violent one. And the sheriff agreed. He said, it'll be up to the American people when this is going to start. The American people will decide when to push back, not me. And they're scared of Clarke because I've read his resume. The guy's like a super cop before he became sheriff of that county. And they're afraid of the now 400. It's now over 400. It was 350 just 4 or 5 days ago, sheriffs saying they're going to fight the New World Order. And look, the intel's out, okay? It's not like it's our opinion we're going into a tyranny, as Sheriff Clarke has said. I mean, they're really afraid of focused, handsome, smart, with great record police officers, sheriffs, but anybody else that could be a leader. And they really hate this guy because he's black. And I saw something special in him in the TV interviews I saw. That's why we got him on. They're really scared of people like this. You know why? Because conservatives and libertarians would follow somebody like Clarke in a minute. In a minute. And they want division. They don't want unity. They don't want us having unity under liberty, under private property, under due process, under the family, under law and order enshrined in the Second Amendment, what made this country so powerful. Because this country's got a lot of evil in its history. But compared to other nations, which they never teach you about, we have been the best. The best in science, the best in sports, the best in research, the best in development, the best in courage, the best in war. Because we had the best shot at freedom, a head start on everybody else. That's why they don't teach you the founders tried to get rid of slavery, but the British government threatened to reinvade if they did. They don't tell you slavery was going on every other place in the world at that time. They only tell you America. Because they want to demonize the republic and the idea in it, because it's anathema to monopolies. It's anathema to cartels. It's anathema to royalty and insiders. What is royalty? It is generational mafia. It is generational strongmen. It is North Korea. I predict within another generation they'll be wearing gold crowns. In fact, they already have him wearing royal hats and saying that the sun comes out because of Kim Jong-il's grandfather, or Kim Jong-il's father, and Kim Jong-un, and all the rest of it. That's what we're fighting, is the stagnation of elites that don't want to compete and who want to dominate everybody. Now, here's the deal. I've meant to do this the last few months, and so many times I don't get into the really weighty issues because I think at a subconscious level I feel like, as I know many of you feel, that I'm not worthy to be trying to launch something this big. Well, none of us are worthy. All of us have fallen short. But it doesn't matter. The fact is we have a duty. And so I have procrastinated and written up notes many times. I don't know, 3 months ago I called for a second American Revolution, a peaceful restoration, a plan. I had many constitutional top lawyers on. They concurred with my analysis and said it's actually found in the Declaration of Independence, Constitution, Bill of Rights, Federalist Papers, Anti-Federalist Papers, and gave different pathways for the basic plan I developed that was just based on a re-upload of the Bill of Rights and Constitution via the Declaration of Independence. So it's not really my plan. I simply stated that a revolution, a restoration of the Republic, when you hear about it is our right, our duty to throw off oppressive governments and to make new ones for the protection of the people's rights and liberties, to paraphrase the Declaration of Independence, that is the total plan there, stating the inherent right is in all of us. We, the people, are the boss. We are the sovereigns. And so the media has always sold a Declaration of Independence as a bad thing because it's saying the government can be abolished. And then they sold that like it will abolish the Republic. It will abolish America. It will abolish D.C., the federal government. D.C. and the federal government has been overrun and captured, and the Republic has been abolished, and even the American Empire is to be phased out and abolished and transferred into NATO and the Communist Chinese as the two main seats of power, where the United States is a Hessian mercenary military supply system. And even that's only a 10-year program, because after that, it goes total robot. I mean, this is the real world we're talking about. This is humans being phased out. This is humans not needed. And you can point at the slob-like public, point at ourselves. I'll point at myself. A shadow compared to my forebears, undoubtedly. Because adversity makes men, prosperity makes monsters. But as bent as I am, I'm not half as bent as the general public, and I don't take pleasure out of their societal deformities. I feel great pain in it because my children and my progeny and my bloodlines flow out into the future. And I stand between the past and the future, learning from both, wishing to go forward with good cheer and good heart and goodwill. Goodwill. I have goodwill. I want to build up. I don't want to be cynical. I don't want to cheat people and get ahead and laugh at them. I want to build them up. But the dangerous horde screaming for blood is being taught by the technocrats that they will tear apart those of us that produce and feed on us in a predatory implosion syndrome that I liken to a cannibalistic, neo-feudalistic, controlled road warrior collapse, which they call Agenda 21 in the post-industrial system. I mean, this is an epic time to be alive, an epic plan we face, epic eugenicist-based technocrat globalists who, you got to hand it to them, have had a long-term nightmare plan and have really carried a lot of it out. They're about 10 years behind. I mean, it's epic. And a lot of technocrats will say, well, Alex, they're in control, we're in control, speaking of themselves, we're going to win. And you should just try to join us. Isn't the fact that we're in control the evidence that we should be in charge? And I sat there and watched a lot of my family die of cancer. And I've watched friends die of cancer. I've watched people take their last breaths. Even though it was painful, it was important moments to experience that death, not to hide away from it, to see it, to know how transient we are. Out, out, brief candle, to quote Shakespeare. And I have sat there and watched people battle cancer. And I've said this before, I'll say it again. If cancer had a consciousness, it would think it was winning. No, you are not winning, and you do not have a right to be doing what you're doing, because your eugenics would be bad enough if you were killing the infirm and the stupid. But you are targeting the beautiful and the intelligent and the enlightened because you're threatened by it. And that is just beyond evil. You people are cancer. Now, I want to just take calls. I'm not going to go to news the next 40 minutes. I'm going to take your calls, first-time callers, on how do you think we fix America and the world? What do you think the big false flag is going to be? What do you think of millions, $2 million worth of targets? Some of them are as low as $5 a piece. I don't know how many targets that is, of children to be shot, old women, old men, all of them the new white al-Qaeda, the new shift to that. What did you think about that report? First-time callers, have your point ready. I will take a bunch of your calls. I'm in disciplined focus mode. 800-259-9231. 800-259-9231. And then I'll take your calls. Then I'll start my engines on the news and a new refocus on the Second American Revolution and how it ties into headlines and how to wrest control of humanity from the jaws of the psychopathic Technocrat Guild. I'm Alex Jones, your host. Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com are the websites. Stay with us. By the way, Mortal Technique's in town right now. I think he's going to come over and do the nightly news with me tonight. So that should be an interesting interview tonight, 7 o'clock Central. Basically, we've announced the giant online film festival. That's Operation Paul Revere, a new video out on that subject. We're going to be playing a clip of that. Stocks plunge as Fed members admit endless bond buying will not fix the economy. That's just some of the news we're going to focus on in that area. But as I said, how do we defeat the globalists? We're going to be discussing that when I start the next hour and then go back into your calls. Right now, let's go to your phone calls that I was just speaking of. John in Maryland, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Hello there, Alex. I heard you kind of criticizing yourself. I often listen to the show, and I hear the neocons from time to time as well, and your worst show usually dwarfs their best show.
Oh, I know that. I'm just simply saying I want to refocus on real solutions, and that's exposing the crimes of the globalists and then talking about ways to defeat them. So I don't really want to get off into, I mean, I've already made my statements on how I'm going to try to focus the show. Go ahead and make your point. Thank you.
Yes, I wanted to mention the modified atmosphere. Several months ago, I obtained, and I want to encourage others to do it. If they've already done it, great, and others should need to do this as well. Get a hold of a microscope. Get some rain samples. Look at your rain under a microscope. Look at what is falling on you. It's mind-boggling. I have water samples still that I have kept for several months in my refrigerator, and it's amazing what happens over the long term. The little glass containers I have the water in, when I first collected it, with the cap on it, if you shook it up, it looked like Santa Claus should be standing in there. And now, over the course of several months, all of those disgusting fibers and God knows what that's in there has all clumped together. And
well, you should shoot a YouTube video of that and show it, but that's really unscientific, and I'm not poo-pooing the fact that you're doing that. That's a good way to start out observing things, and I appreciate your call. Here's my issue with weather modification. Let's not exaggerate. There are 20,000 different papers. That's a conservative number. You can go look at it on Google. Universities, Department of Energy, other governments, UN treaties on weather modification. They call it all testing. And it's going on everywhere. Al Gore talked about it on Ellen last week, admitted it was going on and said he thought it was a crazy idea, which is ridiculous, and then said, isn't the weather scary? And there's undoubtedly, I've interviewed, let's not exaggerate, 5, 6 meteorologists, some of them that actually work at TV stations, saying clearly you could see the jets come in, the military aircraft, block fronts, make fronts worse. It was in the San Antonio Express News like 15 years ago. There was a big flood, and it killed 34 people, I think, in one night in South Texas. And they said, the Navy says their weather mod spraying wasn't involved in this. Just a footnote in there. So my frustration is I've done special reports. I've had guests on. I've promoted 2 films we sell. What in the world are they spraying and why are they spraying? That are available at InfoWarsStore.com, where it goes through. I mean, I've sent my crew 2 weather mod conferences. And it's not just little companies doing it, making the ski slopes have snow. It's not just things like that. It's big, giant government and corporate operations. Bill Gates spends billions a year, with a B, manipulating hurricanes, manipulating snowstorms. And then we say, hey, the Russians say they control the weather. The Chinese are doing it. They're doing it in Dubai. Hey, our government pioneered this, and I've interviewed the father of weather weapons. I think he's still alive. He's like 95 years old, Ben Livingston. He first flew into hurricanes and typhoons and things. He could take a cloudless sky and flood the Ho Chi Minh Trail with 10 feet of water. That interview is up at prisonplanet.tv. The father of weather weapons, Ben Livingston. And no one ever wants to talk about that or the aerosol spraying program or the Department of Energy programs or all the admissions. It's like it's all admitted that the government has declassified thousands of lethal chemical, biological, radiological releases on the public. And then every time I get calls or somebody on the street, they're like, did you see the chemtrails? Will you talk more about them? Hey, you know, I think they're doing this. What do you think they're doing? I know exactly what they're doing. I have the patents where they add the barium salts, aluminum dioxide to the 3 major jet fuel manufacturers, part of a national security compartmentalization. It's then sprayed out even from those jets. They have specialized jets. It's all a public program. It's like, can we prove there's a new world order? It's all hiding in plain view. I mean, it's going on. More calls coming up. Yeah, that's what the police said they were going to do. We're going to burn that house down, burn that effing house down, burn him up, bring in the fire, burn him up. Okay, the burners are placed. They're on fire. We have fire. Mission completed. The house is burned down. They're like, we didn't burn him down. That's a conspiracy theory. And CNN, as I predicted, said Alex Jones and his conspiracy theory that the police burned that down. Alex Jones is helping Dorner. Remember that clip from a few days ago? This shows that reality and common sense is what the system is at war with, because common sense says we have a big, fat criminal government and an establishment that's grown up around it that is feeding on us, and it needs to stop. Now finishing up on the weather modification point that the last caller brought up, which is a very good point, that yes, there is all sorts of normal bacteria, spider webs, debris in the atmosphere. There's also the jet stream that goes over India and China that dumps over the Midwest, filled with toxic waste. And they're always going, we found more toxic waste in the air, more taxes locally, more catalytic converters on your tractor. Nothing's coming out of the tractor but water vapor and carbon dioxide and some carbon monoxide. But they'll still tax you because China has everything burning dirty. The rivers catching on fire, dirtier environment than anywhere on Earth's ever had. But there's no discussion of that. It's all, we're going to shut your power plants down that are clean and let China have whatever they want because there's pollutants in the air. But never a discussion of where they came from. But on the issue of the weather modification, it's one of the biggest issues. And we've done special reports on it. We'll do more special reports on it. But look up UN treaties on weather modification, 1978. Look up the other treaties. It's all going on. And they're using bad weather. There is some unusual weather going on to devastate certain areas of the world. Weather as a weapon. The Secretary of Defense, William Cohen, talked about in the April issue of Army Times, April 18th issue of Army Times, where he gave a press conference and talked about weather weapons. So, yes, weather weapons are real, and undoubtedly there's weather mod going on a giant scale. Yeah, there's the UN Weapons Treaty. Let's scroll down and see if my memory was right about 78. Well, that's one on 1972. They must have updated it in 77 and then in 78. Yep. So I guess the latest version was 1978, started in 72. I mean, the point is, see, they know the public's so ignorant. They're like, I heard there's a UN. Never saw it, but heard it's there. I heard there's FEMA camps. I heard the military's trying to take our guns. Well, go watch my films. I mean, you'll see them trying to take your guns. You can read it in the newspaper if you want. I heard there's a plan to forcibly inoculate us. It's the Model States Health Emergency Powers Act. Yes, I just gave you the name of it. I heard there's a plan to have the Army have forced labor. Civilian inmate labor camp program. I mean, you type that into army.mil, you're going to get all the maps, the documents, the names, everything. See, it's all going on. Reality's going on, and then you've got what the TV heads are getting. I was talking to Weldon Henson last night. We went shooting yesterday evening with some of my other friends, the Steiners. And he was talking about, I don't watch a lot of TV. I'm going to go to your calls here in a moment, but I like Hawaii Five-0, the new one. But he goes, I got to quit watching it. I'll get home tired on Monday nights, and he also plays country music 4 nights a week live. Pretty popular band, and the Weldon Henson Band. And he said, I'll get home with my wife and, I'll try to watch that and just, forget about stuff. But it's the new generation. It's got Dano's son and McGarrett's son. And he said basically every episode lined up with Dorner exactly. While that was happening, that episode aired, where a Vietnam vet is shooting police officers sniper style, and the veterans and gun owners are bad, and Dano and McGarrett are like, we've got to get rid of the Second Amendment. I'm sure a lot of you saw the episode. It's a popular show. We've got to get rid of the Second Amendment. And there is no right to own guns. Guns are the problem. And McGarrett and Dano win the argument. And at the end, it's like time to turn all the guns in. And the veterans are the terrorists. And, of course, Weldon's an Air Force veteran. Was a bomb loader and worked on diagnostics and stuff. But the point is, believe me, that's a veteran. That's a dangerous job. So all of this type of stuff goes on. And you get turned on television and hear, you're the terrorist. And again, it hasn't happened yet. They've got actuaries where they know vets aren't going to give your pension funds up or your guns, and they're going to have a war with you. And so the targets are of veterans, and the manuals are of veterans, and the TV shows are of veterans. Because it's not just the 4 shows. Weldon said, you better watch some other TV show. It's not just Founding Fathers and I Hate Paul Revere and all this stuff. It's every show my wife watches. People that don't take vaccines are child molesters. People that don't take vaccines are child murderers. People that are concerned about the government are terrorists. And the general public, who doesn't know their head from a hole in the ground, can't find their butt with both hands, they're all being taught that those of us that are aware of this are the terrorists. And they're going to sick the general public on us when the depression really gets bad and say, take everything they got and we'll turn the money back on. Pass Obamacare, we'll turn the money back on. They're like, I'm going bankrupt. It costs twice as much. Everything's shutting down. More socialism will fix it. All right. Things are even worse. Communism will fix it. Okay. Things are even worse. Go to this forced labor camp. We'll feed you there. All right. You'll be a jail guard and help kill your neighbors. You'll get food. All right. This is how the authoritarians do it. And if you don't wake up to the mind control, it's over. Now, I said I'd take a bunch of calls. I'm going to move quickly. I cannot let the callers distract me, even though they're great points, to go off in dissertations. Let's go to Chad in South Carolina. You're on the air, Chad.
Hey, Alex, it's funny you were just mentioning those shows because you asked what the next false flag would be, and I think it's going to be power out, lights out. One reason I think that is the new NBC series. It's not new, but the Revolution. The lights go out and the economy collapses.
No. Every show, every movie is the race memory for humans to expect, because humans are adaptive. The globalists say this. They're going to teach us that mass death, mass collapse is coming. So as they engineer the slow collapse, Agenda 21, we will expect it, yes.
So the revolution, the American flag is the rebel flag. Guns have been banned. And it's just, they're putting this stuff out there. We're going to get desensitized to it, like you said.
No, it's total psych warfare on record. I read articles 2 weeks ago where the head UN official it was Stanford, gave a speech and admitted we've used the cinema, the dramas, and the sitcoms to get rid of the family. Now we're going to drop the hammer. It's an hour, 10-minute video admitting it. Do you understand? If you're a new listener, it's not a liberal bias. It's an authoritarian takeover bias. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
So Fox News a couple days ago runs a show about China hacking the Intel network or Intel, and it runs the power grid. So they're saying, can you imagine what 7 days on the East Coast, and they said East Coast, would be without power? And that's the thing. It's like East Coast versus West Coast or Southeast versus the rest of the, we have Texas.
And by the way, the globalist, again, set up China, set up the communist, on record, it's declassified, publicly hiding in plain view. The elite are working China against America, but America against China. They want to kill the Chinese people. They want to get rid of us as well. It's that global elite allied with China. It's the globalist allied with China against Russia. Russia's corrupt as well. China's not, is allied, though. And I agree with Joel Scalzi. They plan on flipping that alliance at some point. But remember, the globalists are eugenicists. They're playing everyone off against each other. And yes, they're getting us ready for a false flag to blame the patriots, hackers, or China for power outages when everyone knows the real power grid is not hooked up to the internet. Stuxnet with the Iranians had to be injected directly into the industrial energy transference grid centers, the load balancing centers.
Sounds exactly like a false flag. If they're saying China can hack in and they can't even attack our grid.
And it's total horse crap. And in fact, I think that was staged with the zombie hack, up in Montana or Wyoming, where they hack into the TV station and go, zombies are taking over, the undead are rising from their graves. And that was hacking just the local computer for the federal EAS takeover system.
But as soon as the grid fails, the first thing is going to be everybody turn in your guns, just like Katrina, just like any event,
No, that's it. They've set the default. Listen, 14 years ago, when I went to my first big urban warfare, I guess 15 years ago, and I witnessed Marines trying to take our guns and training for America, and then I turned on CNN that night who'd been there. Troops are training for Macedonian conflict to help with UN peacekeepers in Oakland today. And I had all the footage, and the public was so weak-minded. When I put that film out, they said that's got to be fake. Even though it was real Marines, thousands of them, foreign troops, hovercraft, the Coronata amphibious attack ship, helicopters. You understand, mainline conservatives said that can't be real. This guy had $20 million.
It all ties together, the bullets, the paper cutout targets, all of it. It's all coming together. And it's happening a lot faster under Obama, like you said. It slowed down under Romney, and it's just in hyperdrive under Obama. So I appreciate you taking my call, Mr. James.
God bless you, sir. I appreciate your call. And look, I'll be honest. And I've said this 1,000 times. I'll say it for the thousandth and first. If this was a boss hog tyranny, or it was some arrogant boss hog corrupt system, and it wanted to own stuff and run things, but the old arrogant type of, I want the country rich and big businesses and big cars and, and girls in bikinis. And, that's kind of the tyranny in the 40s and 50s before the globalists totally took over completely. The technocrats was John Wayne and we're taking over. But that was still a boss hog corruption. I would be saying it was bad and I'd be against it, but I wouldn't be so desperate like a cat in a box that's been thrown in the river trying to scrabble out of it somehow before I drowned. These globalists are scientists, and they're all into studying. That's why all the internet grid, the surveillance grids, the tracking, it's all about predicting the future. It's all about the elite becoming God. It's all about the elite living forever. Zuckerberg and Brin joined forces to extend life. France 24, announcing new $3 million initiative every year for whoever comes up with life extension technologies. They find these things all the time. You hear about cures for this, cures for that, and they shelve them for the elite. They eat organic. They take clean vaccines. They get purified water. Their food's grown in greenhouses while they kill you. See, the good news is every weapon they release on us, they have to have a cure for. And it's easy to make a weapon. It's hard to have a cure. So, see, they're also scared that they might release something on us that'll mutate and get them. That's why they've got the bunkers. But all of this is a Moonraker scenario. But if they're not going to go to space, they're going to go underground. That's why Ian Fleming, the big MI6 OSS guy, wrote Moonraker. Will you guys look up when Ian Fleming, it had a different name. I think he wrote Moonraker in the 50s. Where the elite industrialists release a bioweapon to kill everybody on Earth, but the bioweapon shuts down in 1 year, so they go off-world for 1 year to kill everybody to create the utopia. That's the plan. See, that isn't a movie, folks. That's their real plan. Just want to give you a little news flash there. Oh, how's your SWAT team uniform matter to you now? And a lot of cops are laughing right now. Your child, a lot of you listening, will be diagnosed with cancer. You might want to go check the cancer numbers after that happens. You're not going to listen now. Moonraker, 1955, April 5th, Ian Fleming. It's a third novel by British author Ian Fleming, featuring a fictional British Secret Service agent, Commander James Bond. Folks, you better learn about the truth, okay? Not knowing the truth will kill you. We got a chance to beat this, but the enemy has going for him the fact that this is so over the top. It's so over the top that most people just can't get their minds around it. The truth is stranger than fiction. Michael in New York, people come together is what you want to talk about. Go ahead. Or Michelle.
Hi, Alex. Nice to talk to you. I've been following you for years. I think something really important for everyone to look at. It's a very simple thing. They've been using psychology, these psychopaths, against us for years, starting back way before Willie Lynch. And that's where they have us all running now. We don't communicate with one another. You're Republicans, well, I'm not going to talk to you, but you know what? We all share the same oppressors. And, people may think they have the right answer, and it's hard to tell them you're wrong. But if you tell them, I share the same oppressor as you, and I may not agree with you, but let's talk. We need to break bread. We need to sit down. We need to talk. We need to stop fighting with each other. Now, I tend to get frustrated oftentimes with people, but I try to communicate. I try to spread the word and talk, and that's the key. Our society, they've got us watching this crap on television. They've got us distracted with cell phones and all this other stuff that's not important.
No, it's nothing is allowed to be rolled out and made popular. Some things still squeak out. That's why they want a world government to clamp down and have full control. They don't have full control yet. That's the good news. The bad news is they've got dominant, systematic programs in that will soon have control, and anything they allow to be rolled out is designed to hurt us, is designed to bring us down. It is a cold-blooded, total commitment against humanity.
Absolutely. I agree completely. And something I try to do is just help other people, spread the word, and, and get ready, because it's getting worse every day. I've been telling people for years. I worked with youth for many years, and I would tell them, and I would say, don't believe me, but don't believe them. Do your own research, and it's getting scary. It's getting really scary. I see Bugs Bunny in a soup pot, and the fire's going around them, and the vegetables are in, and I see most of America tasting the stuff and saying, ooh, this tastes good. And they need to get out of the stock pot and do something. No,
I hear you. Good analogy. Time to get out of the pot. They're going around cooking us like the Wicked Witch and Hansel and Gretel. Just look at the globalist. It's the Wicked Witch, folks. It's just... They bought $2 million worth of targets of little kids for the police to shoot, and then they defend it. The company defends it and says, well, Homeland Security asked for this. The bullets are for us. And it's not just the targets. We have the manuals. We have it all. Wayne in New Jersey, thanks for holding. You're on the air.
How's it going, Alex? You and Joel Skousen do some great work. In reference to the DHS targets, one of your other callers had said that those were the not-to-shoot targets.
No. It says to shoot. It says no hesitation under it. This may be something you face.
Right, I understand that. Back in the day, that's what it used to be. They'd put it up in like a Hogan's Alley, and that would come up.
Sure, but do you see how people automatically spin everything? Like, first, it can't be a real story. Well, then, no, you don't shoot the pregnant lady. No, it says non-traditional target depicting a hostile pregnant woman in a nursery.
Understand that, and that it's very dangerous, what they're doing right now.
And it says this is to train you to take out the threat. It says it in English, and people can't believe it.
But do you understand what I'm saying? It's
yes.
A total reversal of what it used to be.
No, it's a total... Look, until 4 years ago, you never gave a pregnant woman a vaccine. They knew it caused spontaneous miscarriages, and the baby lived, it would brain damage him. Now they say, oh, pregnant women need more shots. You understand? Yeah. They're just seeing what they can get away with.
We need a modern-day version of Thomas Paine's common sense. That's what we need.
We need to realize the enemy runs the government. That doesn't mean everybody in it, but the people running it are super evil. It just needs to be a mass awakening that, my God, we've got a bunch of psych warfare chiefs who are weird, anti-family, anti-human, power-tripping nuts who think they're going to merge with machines and become God in charge, and they're spiking the food and water, and they're killing people all over the world, cutting their food off, and they're absolutely out of control. Great points, Wayne. Derek, Michael, Jeremy, everybody else, your calls are coming up. 800-259-9231. I'm Alex Jones. All right, I'm going to continue with your calls in this segment and the next. Then I'm going to get into the Second American Revolution and what we've got to do to restore the Republic. Because I've got a message to the criminal foreign crime syndicates that run our government. I sit here and I watch, and I study what you do every single day. And I watch all the horrible things you do. I know you brag how it's an attribute to be cold-blooded and exterminate humans that are a disease on the face of the earth. And I see you selling that idea to the public, so we'll think of ourselves as trash and roll over and die, but that's not going to happen. I read the book World War Z, because it's a big Brad Pitt film coming out. The film reportedly is in trouble with re-edits and things. But it's just all about... It was actually great that the zombies came to reduce population. What we needed was a Marxist system. And so it helped bring the UN into world power that the zombies took over, because they weren't the real threat. The real threat was the individuals. You're not listening to Mark Hamill of Star Wars, because I also listen to the book on tape, in that fake New York accent, or East Coast accent. You know, my dad, I didn't listen to him about Marxism, but he was right. And the UN knew how to deal with the American gun owners. We hunted them down. The zombies were our friends. They helped deal with the gun owners as well. I mean, it's every movie, TV show. It's the veterans, the gun owners. They're the enemy. I mean, just the government is a foreign occupying power. Period. 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 And I know a lot of Americans are going to follow orders right into the pit of hell. But a lot of us are not going to do it. So let me just tell all the minions out there, you're not going to get away with this without one hell of a fight. Just get that through your pea brain. And I don't want to see you cut down. I don't want to see this engineered civil war. They've got all geared up and primed and ready. But they don't have almost every drama and show on TV getting ready for civil war and collapse and that the enemy's the gun owners, because they're going to play tiddlywinks. This is a real operational program that they are considering hammering. They got multiple programs going. But right before 9/11, they said, here's bin Laden, he's going to get you. What do you do when he attacks? Give your rights up. I saw the pre-programming. It's how I was able to say they were going to stage an attack. Doesn't mean there aren't Muslim extremists. Doesn't mean Al-Qaeda isn't real. The globalists created it. They run it today. Criminal globalist elements infiltrating our government, working with Al-Qaeda. Just like FBI doesn't know they work for the globalist, the average Al-Qaeda extremist actually thinks they're fighting for Allah. It's compartmentalization where the globalists run all the sides. Do you understand that? If you don't get that, it's over. I'm going to go to break. I'm going to come back with some of your phone calls. Don't forget, our broadcast is listener-supported. When you buy the books, the videos, the tapes, the T-shirts, InfoWarsStore.com. 3 new films we're carrying that are very powerful. Behold a Pale Horse, America's Last Chance with Charlie Daniels. Amazing, General Boykin and others, and exposing the New World Order. This is great to get mainline conservatives to wake up to the New World Order. Agenda 21, A Noble Lie to Understand False Flag Terror and Clinton's involvement and the Attorney General's involvement. He was Deputy Attorney General at the time. To wake Christians up that the tribulation is being used as a cop-out. After the tribulation, let no man be deceived. Very well done. Our best-selling film we're selling right now at InfoWarsStore.com. Purchase them, have a viewing at your house. Give a copy to your neighbor, your boss, your employees. Buy the magazine, bulk at cost. Big color magazine, great way to wake people up. Give a gift subscription. InfoWarsStore.com or call 888-253-3139. 888-253-3139. Got the new Obama Come and Take It Tyrant shirts. Bestseller there. And just fill our war chest, mid-air refueling, so I can accelerate to beyond attack speed, because I'm coming in on my another attack run, and I need fuel in the engines, so load me with fuel, and I'm ready to hammer down. Make no mistake, our greatest success of this transmission is that more and more we're able to shape the debate. And it's an incredible responsibility, and I want to say I'm thankful for it, but quite frankly, didn't even want this job. That's why I've been successful. I got involved in this because I believed in liberty and didn't want to live under slavery. I didn't get involved in media like most people to be a big shot. I got involved in media and crawled my way up to this point out of a dedication to freedom. And I know that's why you're listening and that's why you're involved, and God bless you. Key information coming up in the next segment dealing with the Second American Revolution. Will it be peaceful? Will it be violent? How do we turn this republic around? The most weighty of subjects will be carried and covered in the next segment. Let's go to phone calls right now. Let's go to Scotty in Iowa. Scotty in Iowa, you're on the air. Thanks for holding.
Hi. I wanted to ask your guys' opinion on I have some family members who are in the military. They're in the Army. And they were saying how Obama's making this new rule that if the enemy does not have a weapon in their hand, you can't shoot them. And one of my cousins had one of his men get stabbed, or I shouldn't say stabbed, an enemy had a machete and hit him in the head.
Yeah, well, that's all part of PR. Obama will say, I'm anti-war, give me a peace prize. You know, you've got to put pink hearts on the sides of the bullets before you fire them, while he has drones blowing up whole buildings and saying it's collateral damage to kill 200 people and only kill one bad guy, they claim. So that's all just PR baloney. And they're just getting ready to politically correct the military, put women in frontline combat, pulling crosses out of the chapels, because they want to phase it out in the next decade. They're going to go purely to robots. And then you'll just have people literally in pink outfits prancing around there to back up the robots at the attack factories and the mobile. Well, they plan to have these giant floating fortresses that are the size of like 10 giant oil drilling refineries. Or oil drilling platforms. This is an official plan. Floating fortresses directly out of 1984. Guys, look up Pentagon plans and NATO plans, giant floating fortresses. And then they're going to have robot repair factories on those with big robot Ospreys and other attack craft that take off. And then you'll have supply ships at these giant floating robot attack systems. So don't worry, the whole esprit de corps, humans are out of it. Humans won't be working at McDonald's. They won't be working in factories. They won't be working in the military. You'll have technicians that back up the robots in case they have problems. But already top engineers don't even know how the computers work, and none of them can even tell how they all go together now. And the algorithms are all out of control. So you'll just basically have computers working on the computers. And at that point, the globalists are going to release the bioweapon. Just get rid of us. We're not needed anymore. They officially said they're going to kill us. What do you think about that?
That's insane. Another thing that I had a question on is some of my family members think that what Obama's doing is he's sending out some of our troops little by little, and that he's creating his own army.
No. They're creating their own. Well, there will be combat troops in each nation because, you know, it's fun to torture and kill people. So the Soviets will all have their own uniforms. The new neo-Soviet banker minion will all have their uniforms and have their purges and, you know, and rape our wives and stomp on us and kick our brains out and torture us and all that. So, yeah, no, they're all fantasizing about federal militias and how they're going to take all our property and our families and conscript our children into forced labor. So yes, that is going on. Their own domestic security force, yes.
Okay, that's just what my main question was.
No, that's official. That's their plan, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So.
I mean, the heirs were in the meetings, came out and in the court, people went to jail over it, and they said, we're going to put 50 million libertarians and conservatives in camps. We're going to kill at least half of them. And that was back when our population was 200 million. Back in the 70s, it's now 315 million. So you got to look at them killing about 80 million people. Or no, putting 80 million in re-education camps, which are really just big party houses for psychopaths. See, psychopaths have their biggest kind of like chili cook-offs when they have a big government. Psychopaths, the smart ones, build a big government because they can kill and steal on the way up, but then they have a big blood party at the end of it, like Hitler and Lenin and Stalin and Mao had. And Mao killed 65 to 85 million, no one really knows. And it's just all a big party. Thank you for joining us on this Thursday edition. We're now into the second hour. We're here Monday through Friday, 12 noon to 3 p.m. Eastern. And the last 2 hours are carried by XM 166. And we are also simulcast on over 150 AM and FM affiliates across the country. And, of course, you can always find the free podcasts and audio streams at Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com. And the video feeds are at InfoWarsNews.com. One word, InfoWarsNews.com or PrisonPlanet.tv. And for the nightly news, 7 o'clock Central. Okay, coming up, I'll get to more of your calls. Jeremy and Jason and John and Sean and Charles and everyone that is patiently holding. And I'm going to get into John Kerry, the new Secretary of State. First initiative is the global carbon tax and shutting down what's left of American industry. We're going to be getting to that. We're also going to be looking at the economy in depth and how they're trying to hide inflation with horse meat and fake fish and the rest of it, that new scandal breaking as well. Also want to look at life extension technologies that the globalists have been suppressing. That's just some of what we're going to be covering here today. But if you remember, a few weeks after Obama was reelected, I made the call for a second American revolution. I made the call for a second American revolution, but I was very clear that via the Declaration of Independence, and to quote our founding documents, July 4th, 1776, in the Continental Congress, that it is our right and our duty to throw off an oppressive government that becomes destructive of the basic aims of life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness, due process, private property, things like that. And if you look at the long train of abuses, that's exactly what we're facing today by an order of magnitude conservatively. And America is a conquered country. Foreign globalist interest brag. I wrote an article a few months ago with Paul Watson. It's a very important article titled Banksters Declare They've Conquered the United States and Europe. And it's got more than 15, 16 different videos and links to world leaders saying the new world order is run by private banks. We've conquered you. And they're not free market. They didn't buy the world. They took over the world by paying off politicians and then having them sign us onto their debt. And only Iceland has said no and kicked the banksters out and actually arrested their bankers who were involved in the fraud. That's the only course. Now, to understand the fact that there is a solution and there is a way to beat these people, you need to first look at the enemy's attack profile. What is the New World Order global corporate mafia based in Europe, England, and the United States, dominating most of the world, paying off most of the Russians in a power-sharing deal with the Communist Chinese under a eugenics agreement, agreed on in 1949 that Mao would kill a large portion of his population, later codified under one child in 1975 with Ambassador Bush. Now, under that power axis, they're mopping up a few Arab countries. They're mopping up a few Eastern European countries, a few African countries. They're mopping up here and there. But the whole world points out, hey, the big funder of the empire, the big once wealthy republic, you still got your guns, you've still got some private property, you've got a federal tax of around 40% when it's a 75% or more in France. That's the model. And Obama's hired not one but two socialist, globalist, French economists to come over here and run things. You saw that a few months ago. They're saying under the OECD, that's the real global banking receivership arm that they used to bring Europe under receivership during the Marshall Plan, that is the Organization of Economic and Cooperative Development via the Exim Bank, IMF, and World Bank through the local consortiums, Bank of England, Private Federal Reserve, and other systems. They are here to bankrupt the world system and to end the family, to make you so poor you can't afford to have children. And to where if you're poor, you're not going to be allowed to have children. And they've actually paid the welfare system to create a giant horde of disenfranchised, dumbed-down fluoride heads to actually be their weapon system. See, the eugenics is a balanced system. It's an algorithm to exterminate a certain number of the undesirables while also producing another group that will form the basis of your takeover army against your real enemy, the middle class, i.e. high IQ, genetic groups, which can come from any so-called race, that in their structure algorithm studies would form a threat to the overall in-game takeover scenario. Now, when I start to get into all this, it gets very technical, and I'm going off schematics in my mind. And, of course, I've made a film on it almost 7 years ago, In-Game, Blueprint for Global Enslavement. But I can get lost in the minutia. Let me just reset and put it to you this way. There's a global corporate empire who doesn't just want to conquer you. Once it's in place, it is a scientific technocracy following a mindset based on Malthusian systems of exterminism, or what would be called in modern terminology a universal ultra-Hitlerian program of mass genocide against over 90% of the world's population. Now, we face that. That's their game plan. And they want control of the resources and control of the society to be able to carry that program out. And to do that, they've also dumbed the population down, created artificial arrested development, They have poisoned culturally, spiritually, but also physically the general population, as Thomas Robert Malthus called for. In what about the year 1800, roughly, was when he put out one of his major theses. 1898 was the first publishing date of that. The essay on the principle of population. And he said poison them, release bioweapons on them, dumb them down. He said ship them to the colonies for slave labor. In fact, there's famous British Army colonel manuals that are in the Smithsonian where they talk about how to incubate the smallpox, how to pop the sores properly, how to lay it on the blankets, and then quickly, because it's fresher that way and has a better kill ratio, give that to the Indians. Oh, you see, that's 200 plus years ago. they give you vaccines today that kill you 20 years down the road. And again, I know this is so nightmarish. I mean, I know it's crazy, but it's real. I mean, it's what you find when you go study the real history. And there is no return from this unless we wake up to it. There's no future for our children. There's no future for anybody. And I want to warn those of you out there who serve the establishment on the so-called right and left, who think that you're just going to go quietly into the night and that you're going to be part of the winning team. There could be two exterminist, anti-human haters. There could be two high priests of the New World Order together in a high mountain temple when they've exterminated the entire world population. If there was two of them, two biomechanical monsters, because that's what they believe they're going to turn into, standing at the ultimate pinnacle of exterminist, nihilistic flagellation, they would kill each other. So I know where this leads historically. I know where this leads spiritually. I know where this leads physically. I know where this leads intellectually, but in my gut and in my spirit and every level, there is no turning back for many of you, I know. But for many of you who are compartmentalized, you're listening right now, and you know what I'm saying is true, not because you know I've done my research, but because you're part of it.
I think that right now the question is, do we all work for central bankers? That's what I want to address to our guest tonight. Is this global governance at last? Is it one world, the central bankers in charge? Jim Urio, you say we've got some downside here, a correction in the markets. Fine. But aren't we all just living and dying for what the central banks do? Aren't we all just counting on the fact that there's a Bernanke put and that we won't go any lower than, say, 5% down from here?
Of course we are, because of...
And then the rest of them go through the fact that they agree with him. Yeah, the Federal Reserve's our master, but it doesn't matter. They're in control. That's the way it is. And that's like the alien spacecraft arriving at Earth and your television sets go, "Psh, I am Gorgon. We have come to capture your planet. We will destroy your planet as we've done countless others if you do not submit immediately to us." And they're all over the news announcing we're slaves while having dramas and sitcoms and movies and police training manuals where they tell you this doesn't exist, the banking takeover doesn't exist, terrorists say it exists, and they're going to blow stuff up. No, the globalists are going to blow stuff up and then try to come arrest all of us. So when we come back, I'll break down just some of my thoughts and ideas, talking points from my research and history of how we can really kickstart a resistance before it gets physical and really cause a real cultural revolution, a cultural seismic awakening. And it either happens that way explosively or it doesn't happen. The globalists know how easily this can happen. All we have to do is speak to the human instinct of survival that beats in the hearts and the minds of most of the minions of the system who are going to be destroyed as well. We just have to get the message out, and it's game over. We've beaten the tyrants countless times before. We'll beat them this time again if God is with us. All right, ladies and gentlemen, your calls and a ton of news are coming up, but I'm basically trying to break down how the world works, what the driving philosophy of the controllers are. So they've gone for 50 years saying, oh, the John Birch Society, the lying demons. because it was only the John Birch Society in the 50s and 60s that was even covering any of this. And so they would go, oh, those crazy conspiracy theorists, they say our government put Mao in. Oh, all been declassified in the mid-90s. CIA put him in 1949, declassified, go look it up. Biggest mass murderer in history. Wanted communism. Nixon was just making public a deal that was already done. And that isn't America. Pundits will then say, how dare you say America runs the commies? Criminal megabanks run the commies. Read Tragedy and Hope, written by Carroll Quigley, Bill Clinton's mentor, who he cried in a speech and thanked as the man that taught him everything. His CIA handler, when he was in the CIA and sent over to England with Hillary, has been CIA from the beginning. By the way, that's documented. It's just the general public. Did you know Anderson Cooper's admittedly CIA? And what is he, an Astor? You know, the point is, it's the same Vanderbilt. Yeah, the other one's an Astor, the Daily Caller guy. The point is that there's never an end to any of this. All right? And a bunch of rich people want to sick the giant dumbed-down mask on the middle class. So they plan a massive takeover in this country. Now, the solution to beat these people is in their defense strategy. What are they organized around? They're organized in the John Warner Defense Authorization Act before Obama got in for state insurrection, even by legislatures. It talks about legislatures and governors and state insurrection. We're talking Civil War stuff. You notice they billed Obama as he'll be the Lincoln. They knew people were going to resist this. He'll crush the states. If you don't like turning your guns in, you're a racist. You're the Confederates. You're like, what's that have to do with that? If you don't like socialism, you're a Confederate. You're a white Southerner, Rangel says. Al Sharpton says. All the MSNBC pundits, Rachel Maddow, Slimeball, Matthews, all of them. You're like, doesn't make sense. No, it does. The globalists are going to blow stuff up and say the new Confederates did it. How did I know all this was coming? I was seeing Army War College stuff 5 years ago. Before Obama, they were getting ready, though. They were putting these out to the troops and putting them out to the officer corps. So I see them getting the next war ready. And they do synthetic wars. They make them up. They run all the sides. So I see them getting it all ready. And I'm like, hey, the plan is they're going to say he's Lincoln. They're going to start a civil war. And so the entire program is set up, though, to where they'll artificially represent the states and call it Confederate. When the states of the Declaration of Independence and the people can reconstitute the government whenever they want. They want to bill it federal government against the states and the evil whites. That's the new targets, the bullet training, the manuals. They want to false bill it. It's us minorities and the loving socialist government against the evil white right-wingers. Kill anybody in a John Deere hat. Let's get them, yeah! Okay? Now, they want to push that false idea instead of people like Sheriff Clarke, who's black and super smart and well-spoken, has a hero background, and along with 400 other sheriffs now, saying this is going to cause a revolution, we're going to be with the people. That totally freaks the system out. In fact, if I was the globalist, this is the type of person I'd go after, is Clarke. And other sheriffs like Mack. But the fact that he's black and talks like George Washington absolutely is like kryptonite to these people. All right? Of course, that's an analogy of a good guy. What's something that takes out water to the witch in The Wizard of Oz, okay? He's like water to the witch. I'm melting, I'm melting. So they want to have this balkanization, have this division. That's why it's so cartoonish. You turn on any drama or show. Yeah, the whites are murdering killers and all veterans that are white are terrorists, and McGarrett's going to take out the evil white person. Next show, yeah, crazy terrorists just blew stuff up. He thinks they're spraying stuff on us. Next show, yeah, the founding fathers were killers and racist filth had to be dealt with. Next channel, yeah, those that don't like socialism are actually enemies and planning to hurt children. Next channel, yeah, the mother didn't take vaccines. We took her kids for abuse. It's abuse to not take shots. Next channel, oh, fluoride's good for your children. Everyone knows it. So is aspartame. Only extremists that are child molesters are against it. Next channel, oh, the lights are off because the rebels blew the power plant up. See, if you're awake, it's cartoonish. But see, the general public watches that. They go to work, they go home, they watch TV. That's their matrix. That's their bubble. So when I come back, I'm going to tell you how to beat these people. Okay, I'm going to tell you how to beat them. Because in their defense strategy, you see where they're weak. You understand? You understand? And I'm going to tell you, you beat them at one level. I'll just tell you when we come back. But, I mean, the thing is, if you knew what I knew, which isn't hard to know, if you understood my mind and understood the history, we could defeat them very quickly. 800-259-9231. Your calls are coming up. I want to kind of get out of brainstorm mode here and try to just nail this down calmly. And a lot of it I've already said before. But we can defeat the globalist if we know who they are and how bad they are and really get people out of their trance to realize that they can't be spectators any longer. And as this system gets more and more abusive, even decadent slobs will start to wake up and try to do something. But the biggest issue here is teaching people they do have power. Doing little things against the system. Telling people about this radio broadcast. Telling people about books and films that expose the New World Order. Running for political office, even if you lose. Educating people. Where you spend your money. What you support. Growing a garden. Buying local. Getting healthy. And none of us are perfect. It's just moving in the right direction. Big things have small beginnings. Now, that said, how do we defeat this? Well, first off, we see the globalists want to divide and conquer everybody. And we see they want to get rid of borders and bring in globalism to replace our republic. So basically, anything the globalists are for, we need to be against. If they're for taking guns, there are intellectual arguments for guns, obviously. But we just know to be against gun control because the globalists are tyrants and want to take our guns to enslave us. So I don't debate or argue with them. That's why I didn't debate. In fact, I debated too much. I should have debated even less with Piers Morgan because he's not there to debate. He's a hatchet man. He's there to try to sell the disarmament and enslavement of our people, no matter what color they are. And we've got to come together for the real Bill of Rights and Constitution, the real civil rights, the real God-given rights, the real human rights of liberty and freedom. Not the right of a woman or the right of being black or the right of being Hispanic or the right of being an evil white person, which they see as the main middle class that's left to be taken down. And we've got to discredit the system like our lives depend on it because it does. It does depend on it. Now, that said, the way to defeat the globalist is a rediscovery of the Declaration of Independence, that it is our right and our duty to throw off oppressive bonds, and that we are the sovereigns, and that we are the officials, and that we are the authority, and that the government people are our servants, and that corporations buying off government to just raise taxes arbitrarily or fines or fees or shut down power plants, that's illegal. That the establishment can't just sell off utilities for pennies on the dollar to their friends. That's not privatization. That's piracy. But all that aside, this is the gist of it, the key. In their defeat, finding the way to defeat them is to look where they're most offensive. Because where is the rightful remedy? States' rights, 10th Amendment nullification, bringing the Congress and the federal government under control. But you're only going to do that when you realize it's fully captured. It doesn't listen to reason. It doesn't find the truth. It doesn't get religion. It doesn't come to Jesus because it's a fully held pillbox full of foreign soldiers, full of global technocrats. We're designed to fight a foreign enemy in a uniform. These are bought-off agents of globalists who are totally ruthless, and whose tool of control is to make you poor while consolidating and stealing your wealth. So we, as a people, first have to realize that, and then we have to realize what are they worried about? States' rights, the family, the individual, races of people coming together around the Bill of Rights and Constitution as a human race for liberty. They're afraid of being independent. They're afraid of private wealth. They're afraid of freedom because they're flaming authoritarians. So once you realize that, you look at how they're set up saying states have no rights ever. Well, why do we have states? We know that's a fraud. How in 1913 they took the senators from the states who were elected by the legislature. Senators were pure creatures of the state. giving the states the veto power over government. That's the real system, separation of powers. And so we move for states' rights. We move for sovereignty of America and expose the fact that we're under globalism. We expose the fact the federal government's been captured and those serving them are collaborators. That's not rhetoric, folks. Like I'm saying, it's like they're foreign collaborators. They are. Get that through your head. Get that out to everyone, okay? And then we realize that's why they demonize states' rights. That's why they demonize gun owners. That's why they demonize, because they've got things planned so horrible. They know people are going to get out of their coma and finally physically resist. And the government and the foreign bankers know they have no other choice. They're all going to go to jail unless they bring in a total tyranny and arrest their opposition, those of us aware of their criminal takeover. So, see, they're committed 100% to their cause. But if you really look at it, strategically, militarily, culturally, historically, it's so over the top to have a foreign occupier, and foreign occupiers always get run out if the people have the will to fight. So why don't we politically fight and culturally fight ahead of a physical fight? Because even though there's a good chance they'll lose that, that's what they want to go to, because they can see long term they're losing the hearts and minds of the people. So their entire defense structure is around stopping the rightful remedy in the Constitution, Bill of Rights, Declaration of Independence, of state sovereignty, individual sovereignty, Bill of Rights, Constitution, that's duplicated in the 50 states. In case the head gets taken over, there are 50 other systems that can join together or separately lead the way out of the takeover. It's designed like ships that have their own air tanks in them, so if they're flooding, they just pump up the air tanks, or boats that can't be sunk that have styrofoam in them. But the globalists are in there like termites trying to eat out the styrofoam to sink us. You understand that? Well, we just need to bail. When you resist the globalists, when you criticize the UN, when you fight for sovereignty, when you go and get involved politically, when you speak out, look at Obama trying to rally all his idiot minions to go after guns and saying, I need your horrible stories of what happened to you, to personalize it. One man's a tragedy, a million's a statistic, as Stalin said. Because it's a culture war. And he's trying to rally the useful idiots he's sucking dry and abusing and destroying, and all the poor he's creating, because he's their front man. We need to rally everybody. You need to realize how important you are in this fight. But here's the key. I always build up to it, because there's hundreds of little points I want to make, but the big central one is this: state sovereignty, a second American Revolution, because that's a catching term, and that's what it is, but not a Soviet cultural revolution, not a fascist cultural revolution, an American republic, born-again revolution of mind. That's where it all starts first. 90% of war is info war. And we take that revolution of mind, and we inject that revolution out there with the pride and the dignity and the focus that we have, knowing we're in the right, and not caring if we're criticized, not caring if people are brainwashed and laugh at us. They're victims. And we explain that the system is demonizing states' rights, gun owners, constitutionalists, and trying to typecast it as WWE star Jack Swagger in a staged arrest demonizing Alex Jones. They're doing all of that because they know that is the way out of all of this. And so they want to make Hispanics, blacks, northern whites, whoever, think, well, you're not part of America, even though it started in the North. You're not part of 1776, even though you live in Boston or New York. You don't know your history. You're not taught your history. Oh, no, it's those evil Southerners. They want to keep the guns because they're racist. The big, delicious punch bowl of the Republic that everybody would want to drink out of. And what's Chris Matthews and Al Sharpton doing? They are bent over, using the restroom, in the punch bowl, so that people won't go drink out of it. But that's not the real punch bowl. You understand that? And so we just simply have to point out they're desperately demonizing things because that's where they're weak. That's where they can be defeated, that they're occupiers, that they're liars, that they're frauds, that they have tiny audiences now. They're imploding. That's why they claim Obama was a mandate. Obama has won. Everyone wants socialism and to turn their guns in and to have open borders. And they have the Crossroads Group and hundreds of millions of Republican dollars, and Karl Rove leading it, demonizing even mainline conservatives like Glenn Beck and Rush Limbaugh. Because they saw all those Tea Party people get elected and all those Campaign for Liberty people get elected, a whole bunch. So Karl Rove comes out and says, you got no one elected. I got 2 people. And they announce it's a mandate with Obama. Obama. It's all a hoax because they've got a 9% approval rating. They're imploding. They're in trouble. They're falling apart. So they've got the WWE Republican run with the big Republican moguls of Jim McMahon and his wife. And you've got Fox News up there making jokes about it and acting like they're against it, but actually pushing it. And you've got shows on Fox TV demonizing constitutionalists. See, Rupert Murdoch. All of this trying, because the same globalists own the Republicans and the Democrats. And they're scared of a real revolution in the most likely candidate, the Republican Party, to get friends in Congress to give moral support to constitutional conservatives and libertarians in the states to get together with a real movement to take over the Republican Party and take America back. That's why they had to put Romney in, one of their establishment types, to kill it, to make sure it failed, so that they could claim the mandate. It was rigged at every level. The fix was in. And they're going for broke right now, not because they're strong, but because they're 7 to 10 years behind. Even Brzezinski says that, one of their top tacticians. And they know if they don't get it all done now, it's over. So that's why you're going to see Fox News try to pacify conservatives. Because, and they say on there, we don't want Alex Jones to radicalize conservatives. And oh, Alex Jones doesn't speak for conservatives. You bet. I don't speak for New World Order fake Republicans. And see, Glenn Beck, who's a chameleon, he knows this. Back when Ron Paul had a chance to win 4 years ago in the primaries, he shot him down, said his supporters want to blow stuff up. The Army needs to be used against him. I'm for the banker bailout. You know, the Bilderberg group's not bad. Now he's like, I'm a libertarian, and I don't like the Republicans, and I'm leaving their party. And Karl Rove is taking it over and trying to kill the Tea Party, which is all true, except, okay, you've got New World Order Karl Rove, probably listening right now, lives in Austin. You've got him up here. Total New World Order, because they work for the foreign banks. They got to give you a fake choice of Obama or mainline Republicans. And then you've got Glenn Beck, you know, next, who's there, who just wants the market of the libertarian conservatives. And is doing a lot more good than mainline Republicans, so I'm not bashing him. It's just that I don't trust him. I mean, these guys are all shifty-eyed beyond, but they're not real. They're all about how they're winners and they figured out the angles. Figuring out the angles isn't how you win, folks, in a desperate situation. You go past the angles. You redefine the game. That's how we're going to beat this. It's our only shot. And it's a big shot. We got a really good chance of beating this thing. If you realize, folks, you're not signing on to some global corporate takeover. You're signing on to something that makes Hitler look like a uncoordinated schoolboy. I mean, you're talking Incredible Hulk versus a electroshock therapy Hitler, okay? A lobotomized Hitler. I mean, this is a mean machine, but it only can convert and take over if you're not aware, if you're not involved, and if you don't realize how over-the-top cuckoo this eugenics takeover is. Okay, so we've got all that happening. So I'm calling again for the Second American Revolution. And you notice the media tried to spin it. He wants to take up arms. No, the opposite. I want to take up info weapons. The pen is mightier than the sword. The keyboard, the bullhorn, the banner hang, the bumper sticker. Now. And realize the unbelievable holy mission you're on. I mean, you are literally in the footsteps. Our forebears fought the greatest empire the world had ever seen. Never been beaten. But I'll be honest with you. The British redcoats were not that evil compared to what we face. They were powerful. But the reason our forebears committed to fighting something that had never been beaten, because it was horrible to be a slave, it was horrible to be humiliated, and they saw things getting worse, and they saw their lands being taken, and their kids being pressed as slaves, white slaves. They just called it impressment. Didn't call it slavery. For 10-year stints on ships where the average person only lived about 5 years. He had a very low chance of living. They would go around town and grab men, women, and children, mainly. Well, not really women, that was later, but the point is they would grab women for other service, but they would grab boys and men, but boys mainly because they could be made to serve. For the hellish slave trade, you name it, that was going on the east coast of Africa. The point is, I don't want to digress into history here, we don't have a choice. And hell, you can go get Jack Daniels and Prozac and go watch the football game and say, I don't care, devil take it, that's your business. But this is the animating contest for liberty. This is the real deal. And the entire globalist program is focused on demonizing the Tea Party, veterans, gun owners, constitutionalists, in the fetters. And why? Because we carry with us what made America great. We are the Americans. We are the informed. We are the people that are left. We're the real elite. We're the real remnant, whether you're black, white, Hispanic, Asian, German, Chinese, Jewish, Tasmanian. The point is, you're it. And if you're listening anywhere in the world, you're facing the same global corporate design program. Unified agenda, same textbook, same name, same deal. And you're it. We are humanity's best and only hope. And God is behind us. But listen, you got to take the first steps and say, God, I'm going to fight the corruption. I'm going to do the best. Show me what to do. Say that prayer. Even if whether you're a Christian, a Jewish, Muslim, an atheist, if you don't even believe in God and spiritualism or whatever you want to call it, asking the ether, asking the source, I want to be good. I want to fight corruption. I don't know what to do. Open up the doors for me. Show me what to do. The universe, the doors will just open. The universe, as Martin Luther King said, justice is there in the universe, and the universe bends towards justice. The providence. You've got to ask for the providence. You've got to decide you want to be good. You've got to decide you want the truth. You've got to decide you want liberty. You've got to decide you don't want to be ruled by bad people. Because here's the thing about evil. Once you get bad guys in place, but who aren't completely, sadistic and murderous, they'll be replaced by those that are worse, and then those that are worse, and those that are worse. That's why you always get such crazy, wild men, royalty bathing in children's blood, or burning down whole cities, or declaring themselves God, or demanding human sacrifices. Because megalomaniac psychopaths will always end up taking over a big government. We're in deep trouble. We need 1776 worldwide now. Because I haven't talked much about the horse meat scandal that's so huge now and how it ties into all this. But here's USA Today. Fish fraud is off the scale at restaurants nationwide, and you're paying top dollar for snapper or flounder or whatever the case could be, swordfish, and you're really getting tilapia that they've reformed, and they've got all these ways to make it fake, kind of like the red slime, the pink slime. But you know what? I know what all these big industries can do, the fish industry, the restaurant industry, Nestle and others caught with the horse meat. Just say it's a conspiracy theory. Hell, you could serve them... well, the Japanese are actually coming out with this reconstituted feces. You guys pull up poop as meat. It's a Japanese TV, but you can show the viewers, radio listeners. I mean, hell, you could have... I'm not kidding. With the average American, you could put like a centipede on their plate and tell them it's beef. And if they say, that looks like a centipede, go, conspiracy theory, and then go, oh, okay, let me eat that, large red-headed Texas centipede. I say that because I caught one this morning. The kids got a kick out of it. The point is that, yeah, there it is. Fade it up. Fade up the poop meat. People think I'm joking. Can we fade up the poop meat, please? I mean, you think I'm joking here, but you know what? It's not poop. It's a conspiracy. It's a conspiracy theory. And of course, Natural News has pointed out, how about bromine in not just Gatorade, but scores of other soft drinks that will give you cancer and infertility and also make you have mental illness? How's that sound? Yeah, in Japan, they have the new meat product. They say it's quite delicious. Poop, human poop. Here it is. You're a TV viewer, I'm not kidding. Sewage mud contains a great deal of protein. We research whether we can extract the protein and recycle it. The process creates delicious beef.
Sewage mud is rich in protein because it is alive with bacteria. These bacteria are harmless because they are killed by heat during the manufacturing process.
Look at that poop meat.
The red color is obtained by using food coloring. The artificial steak, according to initial tests, even tastes like beef. In fact, to refine the flavor,
that's enough.
Professor Ikeda...
He enjoys eating it himself. You think I'm joking about this stuff? Folks, they spray live viruses, poop viruses, on most meat you eat. They won't believe that. Type in viruses sprayed on meat. It's 6 years old, ABC News. They radiated everything. They sprayed poop viruses on it. Hope you enjoy it. It's good for you. You think I'm joking about poop viruses? Whatever. In Latin, it translates to poop-eating viruses, or viruses that eat poop-eating bacteria, I guess is the full quote. I'll tell you, having knowledge is the beginning of sorrow. I think it says somewhere in the Bible. The bottom line is they're afraid of states' rights movements. They're telling you have no power. They're telling you the Tea Party's dead, the Republican and Democratic parties, because it's the steak that can go through the vampire's heart. It's the high noon to Count Chocula, okay? It is the holy water. To that Renfield-like creature known as Janet Napolitano that walks around dragging her knuckles on the ground like some type of albino possum re-engineered with a chimpanzee. Your phone calls are coming up. Stay with us. I have decided to become a trendy for at least the next 5 minutes. I want to say there is no horse meat being fed to anyone that they claim is beef. That is a conspiracy. There are no drones operating domestically, and the NSA is not listening to us. There is no world government, even though it's all been announced. And everything's fine. And USA Today is lying. No restaurants serve you a lower quality fish and mislabel it. There is no lying. No one should question anything. Everything's fine. The government loves you. There. Let's go to your phone calls. A bunch of your calls, and I'm going to get into the main news. I've covered some of it, but the economy and a lot more coming up right now. Let's talk to Jeremy in Texas. Jeremy, thank you for patiently holding. You're on the air, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thanks for taking my call. I was calling in because you'd asked for what we think some solutions can be. And I think... Hold
on a minute. We got to have the record skipping. You actually called in on what I asked you to call in about? This may be a first. Yeah. Go ahead.
Well, my story is a few years ago. I'm going in my third year now as a Prison Planet TV member. 3 years ago, I was what you would call an evangelical Christian at Hagee's Church here in San Antonio. Was a leader in the church, taught Bible study, taught marriage intimacy, and was a big believer in the pre-trib rapture. Until I had been listening to you a little bit, I wouldn't say I didn't believe you, but I just found it interesting until you had brought up about how, we were going to live through the tribulation, and then the rapture was going to happen after that the Rockefeller Foundation had started introducing that in the 1800s. Well, I'm one of the people that still actually research stuff, and when I researched it, I went back and I found out that what you said was absolutely true. There's nothing in history except for, I think, some Roman priest that mentioned it 1,000 years ago just as a paper. But before then...
Well, yeah, I mean, the Gnostics thought that a little bit, but it wasn't the same thing, yeah.
Yeah, but it wasn't until then that I really believed you. And, I mean, you are 100% responsible for bringing me out of the matrix. I am an evangelical. I am a Christian. And then, of course, now with Pastor Anderson's movie that came out, which I think is absolutely amazing. But being in the church that I was in here, I don't go there anymore. I mean, I was a lemming. I was a neocon. I was exactly...
What happened when you started telling people, hey, the beast will wage war against the saints and overcome them? I mean, what did they say to you? I mean, did you try to wake them up?
Oh, absolutely. I've been doing that for 3 years. I had, 50 or 60 friends that went to that church on Facebook that are no longer my friends. They defriended me. But again,
so afraid that you don't agree with them because, there's nothing bad going to happen to us. We're going to did any of the Christians ever get teleported out? Well, sometimes they did, like the lion's den or the fiery furnace, but they had to go into it first.
Yeah, absolutely. And Noah didn't get taken off of Earth. He stayed. So, I mean, the history of the Bible shows that every time they went through tribulation, God never took them out of it. They had to stay through it. But
did they get raptured out with the lions? Or a lot of Christians thought they were going to be raptured in Nazi Germany. Did that happen?
No, absolutely not. And but what I was saying about them is they are. I was in that church for 7 or 8 years, and they brought in historians and people that talked about the founding fathers in a good way. They're gunners, they're hunters, they're fishers. I mean, they're everything that you talk about of that fight. But the one key thing that holds them up from opening their mind is thinking that they don't have to fight. Because in that church, they don't teach Romans 13. In other words, I could
no. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy that it's all going to end anyways. And for the New Agers, they gave them 2012. Oh, well, why be involved? 2012 is the end of the world. You see how Frank Herbert called it the Missionariate Protectorate, where they would implant groups to create false ideas of giving up and there's no point, so that when then they sent in their control people, everybody would stand down. Great points. I know that's why we have the film, After the Tribulation, Let No Man Deceive You, available at InfoWarsStore.com. Your purchase supports us and the filmmakers. Very well done film. And believe me, this is like cyanide to the lies of the pre-trib stuff. And I'm not judging you if you're into pre-trib. If you think that's true, go ahead and believe it. All right, it's hour number 3. I'm going right to your phone calls. And then if you go to InfoWars.com or PrisonPlanet.com, citizens applaud defeat of firearms ban in Massachusetts. The problem is they've got our kids. I've actually had at Handgun Control Inc. an article I was in like 10 years ago go, it doesn't matter if you beat this bill now. We have control of the education system and your children. I probably read that quote like 25 times on air. It was in the Austin American-Statesman. Doesn't matter long term. It's all about dominating, all about... See, for the government type, that's how they move up. They move up by making you their slave. TSA apologizes for harassing another wheelchair-bound toddler. Yeah, they'll say, get up. I'm sorry, my son's a quadriplegic. Shut up, terrorist. Get back. Stocks plunge as Fed members admit endless bond buying will not fix economy. Sheriff responds to attacks over Second Revolution comments. We're going to be getting to that. It's powerful. Gun control was historically about repressing blacks. 20 signs the U.S. economy is headed towards big trouble in the months ahead. Really, you think so? Killing the dollar. G20 and IMF push for global Fed, global currency, global government. Oh, as the solution. We did all this on purpose. Give us more power. That'll fix it. And then huge online film festival launched video at Infowars.com. And that's just some of the news on Infowars.com. We'll look at DrudgeReport.com. We'll look at a bunch of other news. But I promise, let's go to your calls. I promise to go to calls. 800-259-9231. We'll go to John, then Charles, then Sean, and then Chad, and then Casey, and then to the news. Let's go to John in New Jersey. You're on the air, sir. Thank you for holding.
Hey, Alex.
Go ahead.
I just had some points to go through. I know you get very frustrated sometimes, and quite frankly, so do I, because when I see people who are that asleep where you can say something that's out in the open, like the NDAA, for example, and they'll just come back at you trying to sound so smart and like they're so educated and just spin something. Like,
it's good to spray viruses on cutlets of meat. It's good to radiate it. It's good the Japanese are now eating human poop turned into steaks. It's good they're putting cancer viruses in the vaccines. I have articles where they're giving little kids flu shots and they're dying, and then the government goes, we don't know why they're dying. We're not going to indict the parents. And then it comes out they were injected a day before with a flu shot. I mean, it's real simple. You take the flu shot, sometimes you die. The stinking insert, the CDC's own site says it may kill you. But people are like, oh, there's no way they're killing us. That's my point. It's all... People say, how did the Germans put up with what they put up with? By successive approximation, by incrementalism. Sorry, go ahead.
No, yes, because basically our problem as a country is we're too used to having everything done for us, where people are at the point where they won't go out and actually read the insert of the flu shot. They'll just take it because the establishment says to take it. And people don't think that they need guns. Well, I've never needed it before. Well, trust me, when this whole thing starts, you're going to be pretty sorry if you don't have one. And basically everyone is too used to the fact that we haven't had a large-scale national crisis in quite a while, to the point that everyone's just so lethargic now, which my response to that would be, shouldn't we in the whole liberty movement be promoting things more along the lines of...
No, that's it. But if we can get the yuppies who are riding bikes every day and into all that to show some energy about the Bill of Rights and Constitution that produced all the wealth. I mean, even if you're a cynical person that doesn't care about anybody, not having liberty makes it a very bad place to live with no due process and where, you know, horse meat's the tip of the iceberg. It's bad drugs, it's bad food, it's bad water, it's bad air by design. It's a lying government that's already taken the pension funds. The money's already gone. They're just getting martial law ready for when the shoe drops. You know, that's another thing. Should we, people are like, oh, so what if the government has 2 billion rounds and training for gun confiscation? I don't own guns. You idiots. What do you think? That's a civil war they're gearing up for. That means an end to all of this. And they've taken down Argentina. They've taken down Brazil. They've taken down Nigeria. They've taken down Greece. They've taken down Spain, Portugal, once prosperous areas, have protests with 5 million people and burning buildings every week and people starving to death and cops killing people, and it's not even news anymore. I want everybody to get it straight here. The globalists are running revolutions worldwide. They're putting Al-Qaeda in. They will tear this country from one end to the other and sit offshore while it happens. They've taught so many yuppies. They go, I don't care, kill the Iraqis, they're not human. Do you think the globalists who don't think Iraqis are human think you're human either? They respect them a lot more than your big lazy butt. They think of you as a dumb animal who they don't want to take care of anymore. You're like, but I work. They don't care. They see the resources as theirs. They don't think you're human. They don't think you deserve to live. And here's my beef with the globalist. Maybe some of the public who wants to be slaves and hear this, maybe they do deserve to be slaves. I don't, okay? I'm not going to be a slave. And the globalists say, well, you better join us. I'm not joining a bunch of people that are into child sex slavery and stuff. You people are evil. I'm not joining the big crowd of lazy, self-propelled stomachs, and I'm not joining the New World Order either. I want my republic back. And that happens by cutting all these people off welfare and making everybody tough and cutting the corporate welfare off and arresting these globalists and hanging their asses high. I appreciate your call. Excuse me. And I mean after due process, jury trials, everything. Espionage. We need to make an example. I'd be more than happy after the globalists are kicked out to give them amnesty and let them leave. But what country would take the New World Order minions? All right, let's go ahead and talk to Charles in Florida. Charles, thanks for holding her on the air.
Hey, what's up, my brother? How you doing?
Good.
I just want to talk to you about the WWE and PlayStation 4. I'm a big martial arts fan. I've been watching the WWE since I was 2 years old. And just knowing it now, noticing it now, what they've done with Jack Swagger, they've been laying the groundwork for about 15 years to demonize patriots and anyone who identifies himself as an American national. It started with Kurt Angle because he started back in 1999. He's really just the basic same gimmick as Jack Swagger, you know, all-American, you know, American hero, American wrestler, and he's been a heel. When he first started, he was a heel. That's a bad guy. And he turned to a babyface because the crowd were so into him because he was so talented. But Jack Swagger started about 5-6 years ago, and he's always been a heel. He's never been a good guy ever. So, I mean, with his new gimmick coming back, he came back about 3 weeks ago. He was supposed to be a good guy, but they changed their mind because all of a sudden they decided to turn Alberto Del Rio, who was a bad guy since he started. All overnight, he was a good guy. He was a babyface. So, I mean, they just... Well,
no, I mean, there's nothing worse than a white person. And so, obviously, you know, he's the new bad guy who wants sovereignty, and then he's going to be defeated by the loving Mexican. And this is to admit, because a lot of people that watch wrestling watch it for the entertainment. It is very funny, interesting. But others, you know, there are people there who think it's real, and this creates that background. And then they go, all the problems in America are the Mexicans. And that's obviously not true. So then it discredits that if we want any sovereignty and don't want a North American Union and to be totally imploded, when Mexico's imploding, then you hate all Mexicans. When if Mexicans that are Americans had any sense, which a lot of them do, they'd say, wait a minute, Mexico's imploding. It doesn't help Mexicans to bring them here and lower all our wages. We need to get Mexico back as a free country. And so it's purely meant to create division. And people say, Alex, it's just entertainment. They admit the Department of Defense and the globalists fund these anti-patriot, anti-veteran. I want to say that again. The Department of Justice and Defense fund anti-patriot military messages because they hate the veterans, because they're not under their control anymore. I mean, this is treasonous. This is ridiculous. Obviously, the bad guys demonize the veterans. The bad guys demonize George Washington. The bad guys demonize the family. The bad guys push abortion. The bad guys push socialism. And look what the media pushes, including Fox News Corp properties, who claim they're so conservative. If Rupert Murdoch was a real conservative, he brags. We have the promo video where they're he's the chairman, I guess the president of News Corp. We played it many years ago. Call Paul Watson. It's so old, he'll know how to find it. It's something like News Corp promotes carbon taxes. And they brag, here are all of our current lineup of shows promoting the, carbon taxes and carbon footprint and bringing in the new green economy. And then they show all the shows they're doing it. See, they have to control the conservative movement. They have to be loyal opposition. Do you understand that?
Right. You're correct. The thing is, if the WWE, I would say since the Iraq War, they have been the ground floor for anything that's propaganda. If it's propaganda, they're going to do it, especially like in the last 4 years when Linda started her campaign. They would just straight up, the commercials, they would be 2 hours straight, just entertainment. But 4 years ago, they just started they go to commercial in the match. Here's propaganda. The WWE is with the troops. So we'll stop the whole show. We want to thank the troops for everything they're doing.
No, it's part of living in a North Korean society. It doesn't mean thank the troops. They thank the police state. They thank the global empire. They thank the New World Order to get you ready for troops on the streets. The Kentucky Derby, NFL, troops as the security, armed troops. They're getting us ready. I really appreciate your call, sir. And again, whoever that guy is with Jack Swigert, his manager, the other actor, has a red Yosemite Sam. Zeb Coulter has a red Yosemite Sam mustache, and he's short like Yosemite Sam, and he goes, I hate rabbits. I hate Mexicans. I mean, they directly, I know in the behind-the-scenes meetings are like, you will now start looking like Yosemite Sam, or you look like Yosemite Sam. You'll go out and do this. And it's the full, you've got Karl Rove saying, open the borders, world government, socialism is good, the Tea Party is evil, and it's weak, and it's dead, and it's over. And you've got the same thing coming out of the WWE. That's because the Tea Party is the only hope. What the ideas of the real Tea Party, the real libertarian constitutional rediscovery of America. We need 1498 Part Deuce. We'll be right back with Sean and others. All right, let's try to jam in a lot of calls here. We'll be getting to quite a few today, actually. Big news coverage, news reading, blitz, and analysis in the next segment, and then followed by more of your calls. Got a special InfoWars Nightly News coming up tonight, 7 o'clock Central. The destination is prisonplanet.tv. Let's talk to Sean from New York. New York City. Go ahead, sir.
How you doing, Mr. Jones? I wanted to talk to you about some things that's fundamental. When I try to explain to people about the elite globalist agenda, most of the time they're going to associate it with Illuminati. And the thing is that they want to know, like, who are these people? But actually, I read some investigations, and I read that once you sift through that bureaucracy and those subsidiaries and the parent companies and the mega corporations and the conglomerates and the monopolies, that there's owners, and maybe there's a handful of people, maybe less than 200 people that actually own everything.
No, you're right. There are less than 200, and they're busy trying to make us totally poor, not to control us, but so they can get us in a position to then kill us. I mean, and they write all these publications saying they're going to do it. I mean, guys, type in Rockefeller and others, rich meet in secret to discuss overpopulation. And it was all over the news. Well, yeah, they're setting up a global government to reduce population. And then the average yuppie goes, there are too many people. Yeah, dummy, and they're putting poison in your water, you moron. Stop imagining you're part of the controllers killing people. You know, reflected glory. I'm part of it. I agree with the plan. Then kill yourself. I don't want to die. And I'm not signed on to this plan. Not in my name. I don't want to go to hell. And even if you don't believe in hell, my gut doesn't like hurting innocent people. So I'm not signed on to it. I hate certain innocent people. All right, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Sean.
Yeah, so it seems as if they control everything, and their family lineage is on top of that hierarchy, and it just continues. But I know that you talk a lot about the left and the right, and it's just so happened that I have heard about Obama when he won the candidacy to be a Democrat versus Hillary Clinton, or Bilderberg was in town at that time, and I remember that they were all in the press plane, and he may have secretly met with Bilderberg with Hillary Clinton when he was elected.
No, I know. I was there. Imagine. It's one of the biggest stories in America. Where is Hillary? Where's Obama? They've disappeared for a day. I'm there, Secret Service, Marines guarding him, Chantilly, Virginia. I call Fox, CNN, local channels. No one covered it. No one covered it but the Epoch Times. And then I think Drudge linked to that there was a Bilderberg meeting. But Epoch Times was like, well, we don't know they're in there. I'm like, no, we have sources. No, the Secret Service drove by and aimed MP5 machine guns at us. Hillary and Obama are there. Imagine, you know where they are. The media knew too. But they didn't want to show the Bilderberg meeting. So the media showed what good little minions they were. That's why they may have Bilderberg. It's always 3 years in Europe, 1 year in the U.S. or Canada, North America. Now they may have it the same place this year because other media, they don't even have control in Europe. And people, were there with literal torches in Switzerland. So again, America is so controlled that the only media that covered it this last year in Virginia was Infowars.com, PrisonPlanet.com, DrudgeReport.com, and Foreign News, London Guardian. But again, that's why the mainstream media has hardly any readers now. It doesn't matter if they lie and won't say it's happening. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, so it did appear that he vanished at that time. But I try to stress to people, it doesn't matter if it's Obama or if it's Romney, is controlled under the same thing. These financiers and the finances and the bankers, and they're controlling the politics and the military. And that's what I got to say about it.
I hear you, my friend. Good to hear from you. Let's jam in another. Chad in California, you're on the air.
Hi, thank you for having me on. You're doing a wonderful thing, Mr. Jones. Hopefully we can follow you a lot more and do the rest. If you don't mind me giving just a little bit of two quotes from the Bible, and then I will give you a thing, I would love it. Do I have your permission?
Sure, we're going to break in a minute, but just start your point now. Go ahead.
Okay, then for thee ought to say, if the Lord will, we shall live and do this or that. But now ye rejoice in the boastings. All such rejoicing is evil. Therefore, to him that knoweth to do good and does not do it, to him it is sin. And now for my actual point. My wife is an illegal alien. I'm a U.S. citizen.
Hold on, stay there. I'm going to come back to you on the other side of this quick break, get your take on that, and then I'll get to some news and more of your calls. Okay, let me go back to this caller, then I need to get into some more of the news, and then back into your calls. But we did find the, 3-minute video from 2006 with News Corp putting out an internal promo video to themselves about good job, writers and workers. We're propagandizing people effectively. I mean, that's the thing with the public. I'm like, hey, the Department of Defense and the Department of Justice is paying to have anti-gun messages in TV shows. Yeah, right. Next you're going to tell me there's horse meat in these TV dinners. Next you're going to tell me that aspartame's bad. And next you're going to say we might want to watch the government. Everybody knows you do whatever the government says. That's common sense. America was founded on socialism and the end of the family. Hi, I listen to NPR. Hi, I'm Jen Napolitano. head of Homeland Security. Trust no one but the government. So that's coming up. If I can shut up long enough. Let's go ahead and go back to, who was I just talking to? Chad? Chad. Go ahead, sir. You were saying your wife is an illegal. Go ahead.
Yeah. Basically wanted to find out, is my research into the Constitution and understanding it, really our government only has the right to say if you're a citizen or not on the borders. And I do think that it is a thing that needs to be addressed, and I'm not against...
Well, here's the issue. Because of sham marriages, they make it super hard. And if you're European, they make it almost impossible to immigrate here because they've got deals with Europe to keep good tax slaves there. They only bring in poor, uneducated workers, whether they be white, Hispanic, black, Asian, from around the world, to drive down wages. That's the main immigrant force. The corporations are clear on that. And to be a political arm. So, I mean, if you're an illegal alien from Mexico and flaunt things that are in the right group, you're above the law. But if you've got a woman you're really married to, what is it, like 5 years it takes or whatever, of you guys together, last time I checked, to really prove. Well, I mean, I'm sure you're an expert on it. I mean, you're married. It's really your wife. How long have you been married?
We've been married for 7 years, and definitely a big witness to the sham of our immigration system, because one of the reasons why we're having problems is the fact that we actually told the truth. And because of that, now we're this oddity case that we can't have anything go forward.
No, of course. No. It's all done on purpose. The entire system is meant... If you walked in like Acorn, or they've done it in Social Security office and said, I'm running child slaves, I'm shipping them in crates bound, I want to give you part of that money, and they're like, hey, we'll tell you how to run the black op right now. Yeah, we bring in, it's a fantastic job. Yeah, just make sure you got them in the school. These little kids you're pimping out, how old are they? Oh, they're 10 years old. Good. Yeah, we'll help you with that. As long as you're hardcore criminal gangster, you're going to Valhalla, son. I mean, this whole system's run by criminals for criminals. That's what I'm telling you. This isn't just rhetoric. The government's now converted to tyranny. They've got lots of Dudley Do-Rights that, write you tickets and, take your kid or whatever, who really think they're doing good for America. Well, I hate lawbreakers. But meanwhile, the real lawbreakers are running things. And I'm sorry to hear that's happened to you. So what's your final question?
Well, actually, it's a final statement of things to do. Really, people, go out and befriend everyone, and even especially the law enforcement, and that to show them that you are human. You are a person. There is a reason for you.
No, you have to treat the globalist minions like they're a criminal. And like when they've kidnapped a kid, you go, we love little Jenny. Here's her dog Spot. Her grandmother is crying. She's a human being. Please, if you haven't killed her yet, please let her go. Just let her go. Now, that works with some criminals who are kind of mentally ill and twisted. The psychopaths enjoy it more. But yeah, so begging them, the wrong ones, they'll get all demonic looking and have a demon feed off of that, a psychic vampire feed. But some of them you can actually get to. But I've noticed a lot of them acting, saying I'm human. They go, I know and I'm not. Because, their spirit's going straight to hell. They're already in hell. They already love it.
Not to fight, but to show that your character is of godly nature, that you love. But it does not mean that we do not fight this.
Although the best thing to do is fight the New World Order. Fight them, laugh at them, spit at them, they're degenerate filth and scum and ugly and weak. They'll be overrun in the end and they will fail. That's what you need to do. Because they already know it. They already know their place has been prepared. All right, I appreciate your call, Chad. All right, let's take one more while I settle down. Let's talk to Casey in Georgia. Casey, you're on the air.
Hey, Alex.
Hey, buddy.
Let me get off speaker 1 sec.
All right. How you doing, partner?
Yeah, I got a YouTube video up of what happened to me last night. I'm going to say the title real quick. It's Georgia Car Lemon Fire. Well,
Georgia Fire what?
Oh, Georgia Car Lemon Fire.
Georgia Car Lemon Fire.
Georgia.
Georgia Fire Lemon Fire.
Oh, that's Georgia Car Lemon Fire. Sorry about that.
That's almost like a brainwashing term. Georgia Fire Lemon. I'm sorry. All right. Well, you guys go find that. I'm sorry. Go ahead, sir.
All right. Well, anyway, this car caught fire right next to my convenience store last night, and I was at my house, and I rushed out with my fire extinguisher, and I put it out. When I go to spray it back a second time, the officer says, somebody grab that man. Do you want to be arrested?
Oh, yeah, you don't have slaves. Pretty soon you'll be arrested for trying to wipe your own hind end, and I'm not kidding. I mean, they would have toilet safety police if they could, directly out of South Park. And that's the message of government. You're a low-down scum. You're not allowed to protect yourself while your wife's being raped with your fist in England. If you fight the guy off, they will throw you in prison for a decade. And that's their message. Because they're criminals. At least the people you're dealing with. They have a criminal mindset. The nanny state doesn't let kids run at school now. Do you understand that? So tell us what happened.
Well, after that, I stepped back and I started filming, and about 14 minutes into the video, he comes back up and he says that he's sorry. Well, he doesn't. He kind of says he's sorry in an way, and he says, well, I told him I was well within my rights to put out that fire. It's going to burn down my family's store, our livelihood, our income. But more than that, I've been having trouble with the city here because my...
How dare you try to run a business to pay them money, you filth. You filth.
Yeah.
You
yeah,
filth.
they do get quite a bit of our money.
They're going to get more, too, boy. Obama going to do more. Anyway, so, yes, we now see the video. I can shot sideways. I like that camera angle. That's cinematic. Tell us what else happened.
Well, not too much happened. Like I said, he comes up and there's a good little quote there you might be able to make a meme out of somebody. But he comes up and he kind of apologizes, and at the end of it all, we're all right. He's a local guy. But he was imperious, and, he was at the end of the right to tell me that he'd arrest me for putting out a fire on my own property. And I told him as such.
Well, it's hard to believe that the progeny of people that carved out a continent might be able to put out a fire. Man, you're sick. What's wrong with you? Only someone in a uniform. Pretty soon you'll have to wear a uniform to be able to swim. I mean, literally, to be able to walk. Only people that have uniforms will be able to walk. Maybe they'll chop our legs off at birth and say, only if your legs are chopped off, or if you have a uniform, you're allowed to have legs. How's that sound?
No, well, I don't want, I'm never going to wear a uniform, so. Anyway.
Sir, do you have a license? Have you been properly trained to brush your teeth?
No, I'm afraid not. I don't know, kindergarten, they taught us that. That's the last time I remember.
So government did teach you how to do that.
Oh, I guess you...
What about picking your nose? They teach you that as well?
No, that might have come from instinct, come from God.
Man, this is evil, what I'm hearing right now. Whoa, you mean from the state? You just said God.
No, not...
Did you just engage in sacrilege and blasphemy? Did you just say the state wasn't God?
No, not this guy. I know who I serve. I serve Jesus.
Well, that's why you're evil.
Well, anyway, the planning and zoning guy, just last year, when my sister tried to fix up this house behind it, he said our property was condemned. He just said it was condemned and hoped we wouldn't fight it. But I fought it, and I found out that they do this sort of informal condemnation where they just refuse to issue building permits.
No, they're God. You didn't. They take people's kids for not taking vaccines. There's no law. They forcibly inject kids with no law. Kid dies. They arrest you even though they know they killed your kid because they're God. L.A. sends me letters going, we want $1,200 because somebody hung up an InfoWars sign. And I'm like, well, what if it's an Obama sign? You going to charge him? I go, you don't have any citation, any proof that I did that, any fact. And they just go, okay, the fine's going to double. Well, good. And they're like, go ahead and sue us. We'll just use taxpayer money to pay it off. They don't care. They want to take everything down. It's all about they're in charge.
Now, the planning and zoning officer, he come from the Department of Community Affairs in Atlanta. And the Department of Community Affairs, when I was doing my research yesterday, they are the ones who give out the grants for the dam from the feds. They also are the ones who give out the grants for the fluoride. So I'm tempted to file open records request on them.
Sir, the health departments were set up in the 1890s in England, and by 1900 here, Rockefeller Foundation, Carnegie Endowment, all of it, and it was set up for, quote, racial hygiene, and at the Nuremberg trials, about half the defense was quoting out of the Margaret Sanger Planned Parenthood, Eugenics Society, Kaiser Wilhelm Institute, Rockefeller Brothers Foundation. Because the Nazis just did what they were taught to do. They just said Germans are only good, or Aryans, everybody else is dead. The globalists say everybody's dead. It's their job to make sure you get cancer and die. I know that sounds incredibly radical. It is. Reality's crazy. Appreciate your call. Let's get to some news. Look at this article. I'm going to cover this first because this ties into how we awaken and how we take America back. Sheriff responds to attacks. We have a document cam right on this bad boy right here. For TV viewers, right here is the document cam. Thank you. Sheriff responds to attacks over Second Amendment comments. The American people will decide when to push back, not me. And here is the Milwaukee Journal. Sheriff David Clarke defends appearance on conspiracy-laden show. So now if we talk about our right, talk about the Bill of Rights, talk about the Constitution, neurotically document everything, this is a pejorative. This would be like 100 years ago saying, don't listen to that guy saying he's got rights and we cheated him. He's an N-word. Or it'd be like in India, you know, with the untouchables. Don't listen to what that guy said. I didn't steal anything from him. He's an untouchable. He's a conspiracy theorist. He's somebody that isn't a chump. He's somebody that doesn't believe known liars. He's somebody that's informed. He's somebody that gets things done. He's somebody that built his own media empire. Oh, no, no, no. It's just, no, he's somebody that's broken thousands of big stories. No, he's just that nobody. And the Tea Party's dead, and the Drudge Report's dead. I've been seeing that headline for 10 years. The Drudge Report's dead as its traffic goes up and up and up, as it gets more and more influential, the most influential. They have articles every week. Drudge Report's dead, Drudge Report's dead, Drudge Report's dead. Oh, Mark Twain's dead. Well, he is now, but back then, Mark Twain's dead, Mark Twain's dead. Rumors of my death have been greatly exaggerated. Alex Jones is dead. Alex Jones is discredited. Alex Jones, it's all over, while we go straight up. They celebrate themselves. They're a bunch of con artists. So anyways, Sheriff David Clarke defends appearance on conspiracy-laden show. Oh, see, and I love how the sheriff says, oh, I didn't know I had to talk to you to be allowed to have an opinion or a view. Let me read from the Infowars.com story that's got the quotes in it. You can go read the full article. Milwaukee County Sheriff David Clarke Jr. has defended his comments on the Alex Jones show earlier this week under criticism from local reporters who said his remarks that strict gun legislation could lead to a second American Revolution were inflammatory. Trying to take our guns is inflammatory. Trying to blame us for dead kids is inflammatory. It's like somebody ran somebody over with a tractor. You're going to take all the John Deere tractors away? No, the tractor didn't do it. Clarke told Jones listeners that he would consider any federal order to confiscate guns as an act of tyranny. He also said, I don't want to get shot. He's not stupid. And said that he would refuse to enforce it in the county. You don't like this, do you, that we're now having this discussion, do you? See, we win. We force the initiative. We go on the offense and make you respond to us. You don't control reality anymore, you viper. Let's continue. I believe that if somebody tried to enforce something of that magnitude, you would see the second coming of an American Revolution, the likes of which would make the first revolution pale with comparison, the sheriff urged. That comment did not sit well with hacks at the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel, who accused Clarke of engaging in attention-grabbing media appearances on a conspiracy peddling radio show. In a piece which will not link to, clearly designed to draw some much-needed readership from InfoWars audience. Oh, be nice. Call Steve up and have him link to that. I think it's comical to see him burning in flames politically. In a piece clearly designed to draw some much-needed readership from InfoWars' audience, one reporter makes several baiting remarks about Alex Jones while extensively quoting from our article on Sheriff Clarke's comments earlier this week. She's the mainstream media that never links. We will link. I know why Steve did that, but it's a way to point that out. I get it's a literary flourish, but let's link to them. We don't know how long their publication will be around anyways. When the Sentinel reporter questioned Clarke's appearance and his comments, the sheriff responded in an email stating, I don't know, I needed your approval. I love that. Because they're like, why are you on the show? Well, I didn't know I needed your approval. When did people stop being entitled to their opinion? Asked the sheriff. On the topic of the Second Revolution, comments Clarke told the newspaper, I'm sure in 1776, the idea seemed way out there, too, at the time. And what a smart guy, man. I really like these sheriffs. These patriot sheriffs are like all need talk shows. The sheriff wrote, the American people will decide when to push back, not me. That's right. That's right. You've been pushing on us long enough, New World Order, and we're sick of being pushed around. I don't care how many sitcoms, how many dramas, how many shows you've got demonizing red-blooded good people, or how many times you say we killed the kids at Sandy Hook, or how many times CNN says I supported Chris Dorner when everybody knows I didn't, or how many times you say the U.S. attacked Russia that I said that. I didn't say that. You are discredited. Call me a conspiracy theorist because I know all your tricks. Call me that. Call me that. Call me that. Keep calling me that all day. I love it. That's the only trick you got. You people are a joke. I was interviewed by CNN poster Piers Morgan. Now, there's a guy with some whacked out views, Clarke also wrote in an email. I've done dozens of interviews over the simple 30-second radio ad Clarke told the Journal Sentinel. And, folks, if the crime rate is going up in Milwaukee because of police being laid off, and because they got gun control going on there, and he wants to keep the county safe. What do you say? You say, folks, time to get firearms training, protect yourself. I mean, that is no-brainer. That should not be radical. That is common sense. But they want to tell us we're radical. I mean, we've had people march up to us on the streets of Austin and say, you've got too many kids. It's happened in Whole Foods. It's like, listen, you're a radical jackass. Get out of my face. You sick freak cult member. You eugenics punk. Well, there are too many people. Then go home and blow your brains out. Oh, you don't do that. Go home and take a bunch of pills. You eugenics-loving pieces of filth. Get out of my planet. This planet belongs to people that want to build a better civilization and have a great future for our progeny who love life. And all of you that say it's your planet, and you're protecting it by trying to reduce the population and trying to save the earth, you're the people with all the open-air genetic engineering, toxic waste dumping, and all the super science experiments you're doing that may destroy the planet. I've studied it, and you're the danger. Now, this is from like 5 years ago, almost 6 years ago, a News Corps internal promo video bragging to their people how they're propagandizing everybody. So the public understands, folks, everything you see, around 90% of it. There are some shows that are independently authorized to go out, and still those get taken over and twisted because I've been involved with them. Conspiracy, things like that, conspiracy theory with Ventura. And if something's good, they just won't let it air. So it's hard to get something good on air, but certainly most of it is paid for New World Order trash. And here they are on the environmental front to scare everybody into global carbon taxes to fund the world government that's being openly announced again today. Here is News Corps, the folks demonizing the Tea Party. One host will be, oh, the Tea Party's good. The other, no, they're bad. And then they'll laugh about, oh, look, Jack Swigert, is saying the Tea Party's racist. Ah, ha, ha. And then just make it a joke. If you go up to Infowars.com, we're launching Operation Paul Revere. You got 2 more months to make your short film or long film and win $115,000. But your entries are going to be featured on Infowars.com, on our YouTube channel, on the Nightly News. So it's a film festival. I mean, this is the equivalent of the Cannes Film Festival or something. It's so big. It will get media attention. You make a film about liberty and fighting tyranny, fiction, nonfiction, whatever. You can win $115,000, 3 prizes, $100,000, $10,000, $5,000. And then the top people that enter, even if you don't win, you get a shot at working at Infowars.com. And Alex Jones producing your films, your feature films. So it's on. That's up at Infowars.com. Huge online film festival launched. New special report, 20 minutes long with myself and David Knight. And it's also for people to follow the rules. We've got a lot of great entries, but most of them don't follow the basic rules that you can figure out. Of course, we'll get the very best entries right up. Got 2 more months. Let me see. March and then April. April 30th got to be in. I have 2 months to judge them, play them on air, play clips. And it's going to be very, very exciting. So be a big part of that. Infowars.com/contest. Infowars.com/contest. And David Knight is honchoing the overall contest. I am judging it, but I'll also take the viewers' feedback.